Hey guys, thanks for stopping by. I am Grounded. So you guys might have been watching the news or maybe reading the media, or you might have been clicking on Facebook and you might have seen this large clusterfuck of the ban in Canada that's going on that's called the C-21. For those of you that don't know, basically it's a proposed bill that's introduced into Parliament. What Parliament means, we'll get into that later because it's different.
Probably wondering, like, why am I watching a video from the gun lobby, right? I'm just an airsofter or a paintballer, or I just own a BB gun or whatever. Well, you have now joined licensed gun owners in Canada in the sinking ship that is owning property in our country. So you may or may not be aware that the Liberal Party government has just introduced Bill C-21. It's, for all intents and purposes, a gun bill. It has to do with gun bans and all kinds of other stuff. But they slipped in there a revocation of that little exemption that you guys had to use like milsim stuff. Anything that shoots a projectile that looks like a real gun, or as written in the legislation, intended to mimic a real gun. All of those things, if and when Bill C-21 passes, will become prohibited devices. That means all the guns that you own and that kind of stuff, probably the magazines too, will all be prohibited devices.
But anyways, this proposed bill, basically what it means is that it's going to ban and criminalize airsoft. So if you own a store, if you play, if you've been caught in possession, or if you're just playing airsoft, you could be penalized monetarily, or you could face criminal charges, which means imprisonment. Could you imagine going to prison or jail for playing airsoft? Man, that sounds mighty familiar. If somebody only covered a story about the federal government thinking that they can convert airsoft guns into real firearms.
And welcome, everyone, and good evening. I'm Jeff Gianola.
And I'm Kelly Day. Federal agents seize a ship of toy guns. They say in the wrong hands, they could have actually been deadly.
In this Coin Local 6 exclusive, our reporter Alexis Del Cid talked to the local businessman who ordered these toy guns. And I see you have one there, huh, Alexis?
Jeff, this is an example of one of the toy guns seized. And besides the orange tip, it looks pretty real. But this is an airsoft toy. It shoots plastic BBs.
Yes, you are correct. It shoots plastic BBs. Let's remember that, folks.
And the man who ordered these says anyone with any knowledge of weapons should be able to figure that out.
Any man with any knowledge of any sort of weapons that thinks they can convert an airsoft gun to a real weapon needs to be sent to an insane asylum, because that is impossible.
No bullets, just plastic BBs. Not a battlefield, just a wooded area made to look like one.
Any kid, any parent, any adult going out of the house with this needs to be ready for trouble.
Okay, on that note, he is correct. If you go out into the world with this airsoft gun, law enforcement is not going to know the difference between airsoft and a real gun. He is correct on that point, sir. And that's why we enforce the 4 rules of firearms handling safety to all airsoft players. Hell, it's even on our Airsoft Pacific website. If you're interested, you can log on right now, Airsoft, somewhere here, airsoftpacific.com, and those rules are displayed. And in fact, it's also a rule on majority of the fields here in the Northwest that your weapon should be cased, or in some indoor arenas, has to have a barrel sock.
Well, yeah, it's happening again, and not only here, it's not here in the United States, but it's happening in Canada, where they're trying to basically wipe out airsoft as its entirety. Now, you're probably thinking, what does it have to do with me? Why does it matter? If you think about airsoft, it's not just a localized sport where you go to your field and you play with your friends and you go home and that's the end of that. Airsoft is actually a lot bigger than that. It's a global marketplace that ties in different countries. In fact, most of these countries are part of the G7. If you don't know what the G7 is, just look it up. We ain't got time for this. Anyways, most of these countries rely on airsoft for import and export. Everybody knows that airsoft was originated in Asia, and it kind of just spread out. You know, it's in Europe, it's in Asia, of course, South America, North America, where it's quite a big hit. We have things like Milsim, we have things like Speed QB, which all those things could be potentially affected if we don't voice our opinions, if we don't share the word, if we educate others regarding the importance of airsoft. And not just that, airsoft is also a training tool. Did you know that? Airsoft is also a training tool that is currently used by elite military units, law enforcement, and private security because it's safe and it costs a lot less to function than a sim round. One sim round gets you about 2,500 or so BBs. So you can see the importance of airsoft, not just in the recreational forum, but also in the professional arena. So if you can imagine these politicians, the liberals, trying to regulate and kill airsoft, it could affect us essentially. And here's what I mean. A couple of days ago, President Biden was meeting up with the Prime Minister of Canada, and they were discussing regarding the pipeline. Well, if you guys watch much politics, there is usually a platform that every politician has, whether it's hunger, whether it's education, but usually there's like a top three, and every time gun safety and gun restriction is always the top safety concern for that presidency, because you know, that's what gets the most votes. That's what most liberal people want to cancel out. And that's what most people want to limit, which in reality, it doesn't make a difference. Criminals are still going to get guns. It's the criminals you need to focus on, not the citizen. And that's actually the argument that's going on right now in Parliament. My good friends over at the CCFR, which is basically the NRA for Canadian and their guns and whatnot, have lobbyists, and they're trying to fight this bill. So, with your help, with you spreading the word, sharing links, going to discussion boards, topics, whatever you can to make sure that this stops. Because ultimately, this, if it passes through the steps of Parliament and through the different houses, and if you don't know how Parliament in Canada works, that's how we originally started as a government structure, but then we kind of bastardized it. You have to look it up. It's very important for us to share the word, essentially. So, with that being said, make sure you go to CCFR. Make sure you visit those airsoft groups on Facebook that are based in Canada. One major one is Tactic Airsoft. That's the one that I personally know, that I deal with. They're a great source. If you guys have any questions, reach out to them. Like I said, there's tons of groups out there. And yeah, that's in a nutshell. I'm going to be following up with another video that's going to show the actual discussion back and forth between the Prime Minister and members of the Parliament, battling it back and forth regarding as to why this bill is so asinine that it's affecting kids, it's affecting individuals, athletes, brick and mortar store owners, e-commerce. It's affecting everybody, all because it gives them a feel-good feeling, and it's a knee-jerk reaction to, we gotta keep our streets safe. We gotta keep our streets safe. Airsoft, by canceling airsoft and killing it's not gonna keep your streets safe. It's not. It's the goons out there with the real steel firearms that they're let run loose. It's the real threat. Till then, I'll keep you guys updated on the video that I'm going to be making soon. Make sure you keep your eyes open on airsoftpacific.com. That's where I'm going to drop it out first, and then from there, it'll be spread out. Until then, I'm grounded. Stay frosty. Make sure you support your local stores, and I'll see you later.